Hey everybody, welcome to Forge Sports Media. This is our 4th episode of our podcast. We've got a lot in store for you. Trey, let's just go ahead and break the ice.
Yeah,
Got a
let's
big
do it.
topic to talk about. There's a lot of big news right after we posted our video
That's
last
a
week.
classic right there.
Yep.
But yeah, so we're just going to get right to it. SimonLizotte signs a 10-year deal with MVP. We all kind of saw this coming, but it is exciting that it is true, it's real, and Simon is already putting out content. So we're going to talk all about that contract. So he signs a 10-year, $10 million deal. That is the bare minimum. He's also got the $1 million buyout from Discmania.
Which is huge. I mean, when you talk about the amount of money that MVP must have to be able to guarantee 10 years worth of 7 figures and pay $1 million up front to Discmania, that's kind of a lot of money to just be shelling out all at once.
It's crazy that he has garnered such a deal that it's exciting to see. Like, this is the biggest contract in disc golf history.
Yeah, I would definitely say it overshadowed. Like Paul's may be the same as far as we know. We don't know, like, say, the intricate details of the deal. But in terms of a huge move and a company putting out the most money for a specific player, he's definitely top dog in that aspect.
Oh, absolutely. He definitely is. And he also received a 6-figure signing bonus. We don't know that value. He's also going to be producing his own line of discs that he'll be making money from. And he's got uncapped earning potential from discs, both from disc sales and his performance.
Yeah.
So needless to say, this is a very lucrative deal that is extremely exciting for Simon, extremely exciting for MVP, and extremely exciting for disc golf as a whole, because we are seeing real money, real guaranteed money going to not just Paul and Ricky, but now we're seeing the third, Simon. I think we're going to just see that this is going to open the floodgates for open contracts, for more opportunities for disc golfers to make a lot of money. And it's really exciting for the sport. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I'm extremely excited for SimonLizotte. This is a huge move for him.
You have to think that a deal like this opens up doors for people who have not traditionally said disc golf is like a legitimate career option. Like, we've seen the Paul and the Ricky deals, and those are big, but then you see this deal as like the big third. We've got 3 different companies willing to shell out this kind of money, and there are other companies that I would bet in the near future are able to do something similar. So as you see one person take a deal, you're going to have kids out there that are like, wow, I can literally be a millionaire by playing disc golf. It's huge.
I couldn't have imagined that when I started playing in 2013. That's an unreal thing to think about, honestly. So I'm excited where our sports, like how far our sport has come. And I'm excited to see, I mean, I'm just thinking about the future, like thinking about guys like Gannon Burr and Calvin Heinberg. Like, I'm sure Calvin Heinberg got the bag from Innova. I'm sure he is fine.
Oh, yeah. And he wins big money skins, a little 50K, a nice little vacation action. I mean, can't really ask for too much more.
I mean, that's
but Trey, the disc that I think you have talked to me about the most, even leading into this, is the disc that Simon's going to start off with.
That hex, man. The Axiom hex is, I mean, Simon said it best. It should be in every player's bag. It is a perfectly straight mid-range, very workable on all lines. And I mean, Axiom and MVP knocked it out of the park with this disc. And Simon has noticed. If Simon's noticed, we should listen. Simon knows his discs, so he has put that out as his first tour series, and we're going to see the axolotl, his pet axolotl.
Which is such an interesting pet to have. I don't think I'd ever heard of that before Simon. Like
heard of an axolotl?
No, I had never heard of an axolotl before.
Dude, where you been?
Under a rock, I guess.
Apparently. But yeah, so his pet axolotl was the inspiration for this axolotl stamped hex. Definitely going to be picking up at least one of those.
Yeah.
But he is also super excited about several other discs. He did an in the bag video, which you should definitely go and check out if you love Simon, if you love gyro, or if you love disc golf. But some of the discs that he was actually really clear in replacing his Discmania disc was MVP Axiom Streamline.
Yeah.
So some of the things that he laid out in that were his new putter is the anode for now. He really likes the way that it feels in his hand.
Right.
He really loves his P1s that he used to throw. He got a lot of aces with those. He is now trying the spin in that spot.
Yeah.
He's got the sky, his Sky God. That was his signature disc. He is replacing that with, as you would expect, the Envy.
Which is, it feels like the most popular disc in the MVP lineup. I mean,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, James Conrad, the holy shot.
yeah,
I mean,
you can't really beat that in terms of a disc that like has developed a name for itself.
exactly. And so you're also going to see him running with, no pun intended here, the runway, which is a streamlined disc. He is comparing that to an MD5, not as overstable as a mutant. For a mutant, or he called it a mutant on steroids, you'll have to go to the deflector. He loves his overstable mids. He throws them a lot, and
Yeah.
so it'll be exciting to see him throw some gyro technology there.
Looks like the FD is going to be replaced with a Crave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he said that is a guaranteed. He loves the Axiom Crave. He said he's trying to figure out what exact plastic he wants to throw there, but he is using the Crave and he throws the FD often through the FD often.
Right.
So,
I'm almost certain that he mentioned the Crave as another one of those just like very popular discs.
oh
Like
yeah.
I feel like I've been out on the course plenty of times and seen people that are like MVP baggers and just like the Crave is something that they particularly throw in that lineup between MVP, Axiom, and Streamline. It's like
Yeah, I
it's
mean
common in the bag.
it's a staple in their
Right.
lineup, and so I think I mean, he said he's using it for a lot of turnovers and a lot of shot shaping, but it's a great disc for beginners too. So he recommended anyone pick up the Crave, and then just to round it out, the FD3 is going to be replaced by the Terra.
Right.
The PD is going to be replaced with the Wrath, most likely.
Yeah.
He's having a hard time trying to replace the DD3
Yeah.
specifically. He right now he is using the Octane.
Which you had thrown that maybe a little bit. I feel like is that the disc that you mentioned that you wanted to be able to give to Chad when he said that he threw a sidearm? Or is that an
No,
energy?
no, that's a yeah, an energy. Energy is unthrowable.
Right.
No offense, but that disc is like
it's
you
a
throw
meat hook.
it is the closest thing that any company has to a tilt.
Right.
And so I guess if Simon wants to throw tilts, I'd highly recommend throwing an energy. That
Right.
disc is ridiculous.
So the
But
Octane is meant to kind of fill that true distance driver spot.
yeah, so his only complaint is he said it's a little touch of flippy, too flippy for him, and so he's hoping to find an overstable run of octanes. He said they feel really really good in his hand.
Right.
And I like the octane. It's a really good distance driver.
Right. The nice thing about Simon and the spot that he's in, and this really goes for a lot of the big dogs at any company, is if you've got a certain disc that you like, and maybe it is a touch too flippy, these manufacturers are going to give you what you need in terms of plastic and molds and them in quantity that fit
Yeah.
what you need. So if Simon likes the Octane and the feel of the Octane, MVP is definitely going to give him the plastic that fits a more overstable
Oh,
Octane in bulk.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, just think about the Chris Dickerson story I told last week. I mean, and that's like, no offense to Chris Dickerson, but this is up a degree. This is
Right.
up a level. This guy's making big money. That guy,
Right.
Simon, is going to get whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He is the guy for MVP. He's going to get whatever disc he wants. And if it doesn't exist, they're going to make it for him.
Right. And I think you were mentioning is that Simon will be creating his signature line of discs and stuff. I'm sure he'll be widely involved in creating and helping with the process of designing new discs or coming out with new versions of discs.
Yeah, so that was something Simon talked about in one of the videos, that he was going to get to work with the engineers and design discs that fit in his game and mold to his game, which is really exciting. I mean, we've already seen the benefits for James Conrad and making his own putting putter in the Nomad. He's got his Terra, he's got the Zenith. And so it's going to be really good for Simon to be able to work with the engineers. I mean, they are high into technology, high into their research at MVP, and so they want to make quality discs for Simon and quality discs for me and you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be excited. I don't really throw that much MVP. Trey definitely throws more of it than myself. I think I bag a photon, which I only really have from just experimenting a little bit. I did get to throw your wave a little bit that I picked up from the Lost and Found, and the wave is just a really fun disc to get to toss. And so maybe this is the moment, and this is what MVP signs big guys for it. It's not necessarily. I mean, it is for the performance week in and week out that can show like, hey, you can win with MVP. But it's a lot of people are going to come in with this curiosity of maybe this is not a brand that I've spent a lot of time throwing,
Right.
and now I'm going to go to my local shop and I'm going to buy 3, 4 different MVP discs, and those retail sales are going to push, and those retailers are going to continue to buy more MVP.
Oh yeah, that is definitely like the biggest benefit for MVP getting a guy like Simon. You're gonna see those disc sales skyrocket because Simon has such a following on his socials
Oh
that
yeah.
he's just gonna garner like I guarantee you if you like could find stats on the hex after he said the things that he said about the hex, he said that's the mid he's never been more excited about a mid-range. I guarantee you sales had to have doubled or tripled.
Oh yeah, the sales push immediately when you have somebody like Simon who is at, if not approaching 100K on YouTube.
I think he's over
He's over.
100K.
Yeah, it's a no brainer when you've got somebody with that much influence, and that the engagement that you get with Simon is it just exceeds that of every other disc golfer out there. It exceeds that of Paul. Like it exceeds that of Ricky. I mean, he is definitely the most influential disc golfer when it comes to just social media following. Like you were saying, just like
Oh,
not even close.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, Paul is probably the most famous disc golfer in general, just because of the longevity of high performance.
Right.
But Simon has a following that supersedes that in ways with with the way that he goes about social media. And so it's exciting to see that he's going to be able to like work with a new company. He seems excited, he seems motivated.
Right.
This might be the best Simon we've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, he's finally throwing lines that make sense. I mean, he's still having fun,
Oh yeah.
but he's throwing lines that win and not necessarily lines that immediately equal fun, which is super cool. But he knows that wow, disc golf feels a whole lot easier when I throw the shot that I should throw or that everybody else throws. The most um, easy shot choice.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Paul Macbeth for that in that video
That
where
was
he
that was a complete turning point.
yeah, complete turning point. I think so too. So I think Simon should thank Paul for that video. But
Yeah.
also, we had Simon was not the only signing. Discraft completely overhauled their team. And we'll start out with talking about AnthonyBarela. I'll let you take that, Thomas.
Definitely, which will make a very clear note. We hit the post button, or at least the scheduled post hit. And I want to say it was like an hour later, Discraft announced their Elite Series, or their Elite team. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is just ridiculous that like the moment this happens, they go and they note this, and Trey and I, our schedules didn't necessarily align to be able to come through and put anything together quickly. We just decided, hey, let's push out, do a full episode, see what comes from this.
Yeah.
But AB, the questions had gone around. I guess we had talked about, I think it was me that kind of pointed at maybe the last time I'll be throwing Innova as a sponsored player, thought maybe the Infinite Disc route alongside Drew Gibson. Then it speculated back to Discraft. Maybe they're going to pony up, pay the AB money. And then boom, it hits.
It hit.
And they announced via the absolutely awesome video of the Elite team. I mean, I talk about chills as I'm watching it. It just the entire team lined up, the photos, completely going back and forth on everybody's eyes, and then just showing off the Elite team. And AB is right there off to the left hand. I think he was in the second from the left spot in the purple polo, just looking like an absolute legend.
Oh man.
So we know that he's on the Discraft Elite team. He's excited. He's got a lot of discs that he's very ready to throw. Nukes, forces as expected. Trey, you had mentioned the conversation with you and Chris Dickerson about the Venom.
Yeah.
Talk about AB and the Venom.
Yeah, AB is raving about the Venom. I got to see the Venom in action with Chris Dickerson, and to see AB throw them. There's a video that Paul Macbeth put out where Adam Hammis, AnthonyBarela, and Aaron
Aaron.
Gossage
Mhm.
went out and played some rounds, and AB was throwing the venom, and man, he is excited about that disc. He talked about it on the Trevor Staub show,
Yeah.
where he was telling him about discs that he's really enjoying, and the venom was one of the top discs that he was raving about it. So um, it's an exciting disc. It's a retool from the original Venom, like I
Right.
mentioned last week.
Yeah. It's going to be more overstable, I believe, than the original Venom. Probably fits more in that. Is it what the Force used to be?
Right. And so, yeah, that's another thing that Chris and I talked about, that forces have slowly become less stable to fit the common market. And so the hope with the Venom is that it is what the Force used to be.
Right.
And so Chris told me that they're going to be in his bag for the season.
Right.
AB is raving about him. So this Venom is an exciting disc.
And there are a few others, namely, and we'll make a very clear note. We love the Trevor Stop Show. It's just like talk about easy, free flowing conversation and well researched topics.
Yeah, it is a fantastic show. He does a lot of great work there. So yeah, we'll shout out Trevor Staub for that. He is pioneering disc golf content, and so
Yeah, and as he's going along, talking to AB about school, about his past in disc golf, he goes into the area of mid ranges and specifically mentions that the buzz is something that's going to be in AB's bag, and AB goes on to mention that he just absolutely believes that it's the best mid range, like in comparison to his prior bag, alongside was it specifically the Rock 3 or just the Rock?
Oh, I do believe it was mainly the Rock 3.
Right, that the Buzz is the best and most versatile mid range and most true to its line. Proceeded to go in, talk very highly about the Buzz SS, which we've got a couple friends, Sam and Brady, who throw the Buzz SS a lot, and those are people that advocate for that disc, and I should probably put that one in my bag. I think it might be worth getting one.
Yeah, I think the way that Trevor explained it is that the Buzz SS flies for AMs the way that the Buzz flies for pros.
Right.
And I'm gonna keep rolling with my hex, but I might try the Buzz SS. It seems like something that might fit my game. The other mid range that AB is seemed to be digging on was the Malta, which is that Paul Macbeth mid range,
Right.
more overstable. He's using it for a little when the buzz isn't quite stable enough, or if there's a windy shot where it calls for a mid.
Right.
Seems like he's going to go for the Malta there.
Definitely. And then, as expected for pretty much anybody on the Discraft team, the Cap Wrap. The Captain's Raptor is just a wonderful disc. The original was awesome. I'm a big ESP fan, and so Paul Ulibarri really hit my absolute peak of what I love in disc golf plastic with the ESP Swirl Captain's Raptor. Trey and I went to a local shop, Pluto Sports, and I went through the ESP Swirl cap wraps and found myself a salmon with white swirls, and it just chef's kiss.
Oh,
it looks so good.
It's a beautiful disc. Is it in the bag?
It is in the bag. I've been toying around with it. A lot of it comes for it is a utility disc.
Yeah.
It makes sense if I need to get out of somewhere, I'm going to use it. I've used it for several rollers for something that needs to cut real sharp, but I think is actually going to stay up and not skid off to the side. And so I'll throw it on a relatively heavy angle and have it just swirl out real quick.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That is the utility of using a extremely overstable disc, is it creates some interesting forehand roller lines.
Definitely. And we look back, I wish I could play the clip, but the Chris Dickerson was a thumber roller in the Disc Golf Pro Tour last year.
Oh, yeah.
Just absolutely nuts. So we know that sucker can roll. So, Trey, you mentioned the Athena was something else that AB was throwing a little bit in that video with Paul.
Yeah. So, yeah. AB loved the T-Bird and the T-Bird 3 when he was playing with Innova.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like a natural transition to go from those discs to the Athena. the same flight numbers, same flight characteristics.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great fit for AB's bag, and I think we'll see him thrown into a good bit this year.
Perfect. So, we've talked about a couple of the bigger names on the MPO side, people that we have a lot of information about. We've got a couple other signings, maybe with a little bit less info, but definitely huge signings.
Oh yeah,
Who do we got?
yeah. I mean, just to Discraft also added Valerie Mondahano and Holland Hanley.
Yeah.
I mean, those are two huge additions for the FPL lineup to add with Paige Pierce and who's the player I'm missing? Missy Gannon. Missy Gannon.
Oh, Lord.
How could I forget Missy Gannon?
Definitely.
So, I mean,
Now, Valerie is somebody who we didn't know for sure, but we knew based on the timeline of signings with mint discs that maybe that wasn't going to potentially pan out that way. And so the moment the Elite Series event or the Elite Team video hit, it all just kind of made sense.
yeah,
Valerie, Alexis, both on the same team.
makes total sense. Yeah, to be on the team with your sister, but also to compete for arguably the top company in disc golf at this point.
Yeah.
It's exciting for Valerie Monda. It's exciting for Valerie. She's a great player, and I think she's just going to continue to improve playing at Discraft. Now, Holland Hanley is also a great disc golfer. I was not expecting them to both go to the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a stacked FPL lineup. Like I said, with Paige and Missy, like that is probably the best core four in FPO.
Right.
And so, I mean, they got stacked on just with this elite team.
It was definitely a wonderful announcement. I think something that we can all be very excited for leading in. Alongside that, we've got a couple promotions onto the elite team. We've got Brody Smith, which I think was expected. He was definitely playing great as somebody that's, not new to disc sports, but definitely newer to disc golf.
Yeah.
It makes sense that, he rolls up. Is he top 30 or top 40?
I think he may have been close to top 20 this year.
Right. So it makes sense that Brody would be ready for that jump up to the elite team. You've got Aaron Gossage, who definitely he showed his true colors throughout the season, and particularly at Worlds, that he's got that elite distance, that elite forehand, ready to go at any given time. You've got Corey Ellis, who I just love watching Corey throw. I feel like anytime I want to see good form, watching Corey is an easy one because I feel like he just has that natural, smooth throw, especially as it leads to the walk up. That like X step really hits real hard. So overall, I think that's pretty solid. Now, on the opposite end of that, we've got a few people that are not on the elite team. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that. Chandler Fry, Alexis Mondahano, who we mentioned before,
Mhm.
Andrew Presnell, and Ben Calloway have been demoted to the touring team
Right.
and have subsequently been added to the Ledgestone team.
Right.
And so that's where they're going to see their signature series discs come out. That's where they're going to have their apparel, all that kind of stuff is going to be coming from that, as well as team captain Paul Ulibarri.
Yeah.
So Paul, I think, is in a unique position where he is still the team captain for Discraft, but it does seem that he was not featured on the elite team. And he was picked up by Ledgestone again this year. So while it doesn't quite feel like a demotion, it is a different situation for him. Yuli, obviously a great ambassador for the sport. His play hasn't always recently met the expectations of and met the criteria of the elite team.
Yeah, and it makes sense that not even if you are a top 50 disc golfer, which people like Ben Calloway and Andrew Presnell are, like not everybody can be on the elite team.
Yeah.
You really do have to have the best disc golfers on your team or the people with the most influence to be on there. And it makes sense to give some bump ups to Brody, to Gossage, to Ellis, who have all been absolutely crushing it in Chandler Fry, Alexis, Andrew Presnell, Ben Calloway, like people who I don't think you could argue have had like bad seasons in comparison to their performance and what they're capable of at this time, but in comparison to a very hard field and a field that is constantly getting better, they're not necessarily at that like high level in comparison to their teammates. So it's not a dig on these people by any means. They are absolutely insane disc golfers, and I love watching them play. But businesses have to make decisions, and so it makes sense that you would bump up those players and demote the others.
Yeah, were you surprised by any of these moves in reality?
You know, the Ben Calloway one, it makes sense, but maybe I was a little surprised. I kind of view him in that like in between just a
Yeah,
little bit. So
yeah, it was close for him for sure. I think the biggest surprise for me was Alexis Mandujano because I mean I think she had a pretty solid year last year, and not to like get into too much, but like a little bit of sibling rivalry.
yeah,
Getting demoted for your sister to be on the team.
right.
That could be good motivation for Alexis this season. One more addition to the Ledgestone team was Paige Shue.
Yeah, who I mean signed with Discraft now. That's a nuts transition.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they landed a trio of great disc golfers, great FBO players in Valerie Holland and Alexa. I mean, not excuse me, not Alexis, but Paige. Paige, a former world champion, has taken some time off.
Right, as she's finished school and whatnot, as she is a mother, there's a
Yeah,
lot going on in Paige's life in general. So it makes sense that leading into what is more than likely going to be the more consistent years for her,
yeah,
it's time to sign with a new brand. And she mentioned in a video that Dynamic Discs had done just absolutely amazing things for her. And as most have said in this transition period, like usually their brands, there wasn't any like hard feelings or ill will necessarily, but rather it was time for new things. Simon says that, AB says that, Paige says that it is a common theme.
yeah,
So, Fosh, I believe you've got an interesting segment you wanna pull in this time.
yeah.
What have you got for us?
So we've got this is a new segment. We're going to do this every week. It's called Foshee's Facts. We are going to use Statmando and look at just, I think, if you're familiar with Buster Olney, he often pulled out weird statistics from baseball. We're going to try to pull some interesting stats that maybe don't get as much attention, and we're going to look and see if Thomas can come up to
So worried.
come up to snuff. This one's not as hard. I think it's going to get harder as we go.
Make a note that Trey has been playing disc golf longer than me, has been watching disc golf longer than me, and generally speaking, watches and pays attention to more sports than I do. So,
Yeah, I'm a consumer. I it's when I get to something that I enjoy, I try to get as much information on it as possible so I can
right.
I mean so can I can better understand what I'm enjoying.
All right, hit me with it, Trey. I'm
So
ready.
the Disc Golf Pro Tour
Okay.
um is probably we would say is the highest level of competition that we have seen in disc golf ever. There
Right.
is more parity. There is more unique winners. We're not seeing Ken Klima winning every single tournament. We're not
Right.
seeing Paul and Ricky win every single tournament. There is a ton of parity. So I went through and looked at the Disc Golf Pro Tour stats, and I found the players with the best top 10 percentage
Okay.
in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Now, this is players that have played at least 30 tournaments.
Okay.
That's about half of the ones that have existed.
Right.
So I need you.
Trying not to look at the phone as we go.
Yeah, so I need you to name the top 10 players with the best top 10 percentage.
This is there like a certain time in the past that went back to? Is this kind of all time? When?
So the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I believe, started in the mid 2010.
Okay, that gives me the context I need.
Yeah,
right
so
there.
you don't need to say Climo.
Right.
You probably don't need to say Doss. I'll give you
Right.
that.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and say Paul Macbeth.
Paul Macbeth is number 2.
Perfect. I'm gonna say Ricky Wysocki
Ricky
or
Wy-
Richard Wysocki, according to the PDGA.
Statmando's got him at Ricky, and he's number 1.
Perfect. That was expected. I'm gonna go Nate Sexton.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, that makes sense. I knew, just generally speaking, he always shows out at
Oh
Worlds.
yeah, he's a consistent finisher. Worlds will not be included here. This is Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Well, hey, I got lucky then. Uh, 30 events. I don't believe Gannon's played 30. Would you tell me if Gannon has played 30? Like, is he on the list to begin with?
Gannon's not on the list.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to say Calvin Heimberg.
Calvin Heimberg is sitting at number 5.
Okay, that's as expected. I'm going to move to... Man, that's a...
I feel like you're missing a really obvious one here.
Eagle McMahon?
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Eagles number 3. So you got the big 3, Ricky, Paul, and Eagle.
I have a hard time feeling that Simon might be on this list because I don't think he's always played necessarily amazing. I'm going to say Simon.
Yeah, Simon's number 4.
Okay, there we go. So wait, do I have number 1 through 5?
You have 1 through 5 and 9. So you're missing 4 people. You're doing good. You haven't missed a single one.
Okay, that's good. I'm so worried right now. Like, I'm going to seem like such an idiot to everybody. I'm going to go with... Oh, man, that is... So, Chris Dickerson, is he on the list?
Chris Dickerson's number 6.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, you're killing it.
Oh, Lord. 1 through 6, and I've got 9. I've got 3 more. I'm going to run with Matthew Oram.
That's where we fall.
Dang it. Where is he at?
So he's just off at 12. I'll give you 11 at Nico Lacastro, and then so 10.
Okay.
Kevin Jones.
Okay.
Not the best year last year, but I mean,
yeah, I guess
he's played incredibly. Like prior to that, had 3 wins, and so so Kevin Jones is at 10. We said Nate Sexton at 9. This one surprised me. At 8 is Kale Leviska. He just hit the mark at 30. So he's because he doesn't go out and play every event, but Kale is an incredibly consistent disc golfer.
Right.
He shows up every tournament and plays extremely well.
I don't feel terrible about what I've missed so far.
No, this is the one you're going to feel bad about. James Conrad.
Oh, God. How do you miss that?
Talk about a consistent golfer. James Conrad, world champ from 2021. I mean, he's played great his whole career. And so I'm kind of disappointed in you for that one.
Definitely. Let's move on in to our new discs of the week, in which case there really are none, at least by major manufacturers. Trey, we do have a couple that we wanted to shout out. There are often some interesting discs on the list. Not to look down on any brand in particular, but I do think it's fun to poke fun a little bit at some of the disc names that come out. Trey, what do we got first?
Yeah, so Osuma Disc. I've never heard of Osuma Disc, but they've got a new putter. It is the Osuma Santa. And there is a picture of Santa Claus on the putter. It appears to just be a putting putter. It's got the same exact numbers as the Nomad 2401. It's PDGA approved and it's ready to go.
And everybody, if we get 100 likes on this disc, or on this video, in the next week, while it won't be for this tournament, Trey Foshee will play one tournament this year only putting the Osuma Disc Santa.
Wait, what?
Yes. Trey will play the Iron Pig or the Appalachia Iron Man.
I'll play some tournament. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Hey, you're messing around with your putters anyway. It's not. I mean, obviously you got a room.
I'm a Nomad man now.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the content, sure.
Okay. And then my favorite one on here from Go To Disc Golf is the Skool, spelled Skool. We'll pop a picture up here to show you.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting looking one. Nothing in particular on here. It looks domey, kind of like a dog or a disc you throw to your dog.
It looks like a putter. Definitely is a putter. And if this video gets 100 likes, Thomas will putt the Skool in the same tournament that I put the Santa.
That would be so funny.
I mean, this disc looks. I mean, like I'm sure that this disc flies fine, but this is not like. I mean, Thomas puts PA3s.
Okay.
So
okay. Hey,
shake on it. Yeah, shake on it. It'll happen.
All right. So moving into our last little bit before we call it a wrap for this podcast, I want to do Thomas's top 5 for the week. This is my new favorite section, Thomas's top 5, as I said, where I'm going to come up with a random list of things that I wanted to rank. Not that I think maybe the foundation guys had mentioned the funny idea of like me giving a top five and somebody else having to guess what that's for. Mine is just I'm going to tell you what the top five is and we're going to go through the list. This week we're going with the top five photogenic MPO players of the week. Now, we're going to make a quick note. This has nothing necessarily to do with, who's the best looking MPO player out there, but rather who I think is the most photogenic, or generally speaking, the photos of this person are the most intense and like cool to look at when tournament photos come out. Coming in at number five, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, long hair extraordinaire, lefty legend, Chris Clemens.
Okay.
I was scrolling through trying to make my picks, and I was certain Chris Clemens was making the list.
Chris Clemens has got a great smile. He really does.
Definitely. Coming in at number four, which I think it's hard to disagree that he should be on the list. We've got the Isaac Robinson.
Another great smile, very he is a happy guy. He loves being on tour. He loves playing disc golf. And it's gonna make for a great shot.
Definitely. These are the kind of people that when the pics come out and people start posting their profiles, I go, that's a great photo. Yeah. I wish I was as photogenic as you. Coming in at number three, his teammate, the I look like somebody from Survivor Man himself, Alden Harris. Always with the headband. He really does, and maybe this is what he's going for. And he's got the hair. He's got a good smile. Super fun to watch. Always a happy guy.
Yeah.
Love watching Alden Harris, and it's fun to see pics of them come out after the tournaments go through.
Yeah, let me just say real quick that I didn't get this list before. My list would be a little different, but
definitely. Coming in at number two, and also on the list of top 10 most winning, or I guess your
top
list, 10
of top 10.
Of top 10, yeah, I was getting a little confused, is Kale LaVisca.
Okay, I can't disagree with that one.
I said that this isn't necessarily on who's the most, the best looking person on tour, but Kale LaVisca, absolutely, it's so photogenic. It drives me nuts. Great smile. The light on golden hour hits him like nobody else. Just you're a lucky man, Kale. Just nuts. Now, this one, and I think we'll all agree, is number one. Maybe you won't, but I will. The ripped man. I eat beans all the time because I'm freaking shredded and I know how to work out, and Thomas, you don't. Ezra Adderhold himself.
Dude, he's pretty dang photogenic.
I've seen the muscles.
Yeah, I saw a picture on Reddit the other day, and I was like, just of him throwing a disc, but it looks like he's flexing to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed. There is not another disc golfer that looks like Ezra.
No, he is definitely one of a kind. He's probably one of the more fun people to watch on tour to begin with, but he definitely comes in at number one on the top five most photogenic MPO disc golfers on Thomas's top five on this week's podcast. So that's going to wrap us up for the day. We're going right over 40 minutes. We appreciate you for watching. My name was Thomas.
I'm Trey.
Thanks for watching. Y'all have a wonderful week.